Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And welcome to the opposition preview and match build-up for Sunday's game between Arsenal and Wolves. Yesterday, we played our Europa League game, got a 3-0 victory. A competition that I'm assuming Dave would want to be in. I'll ask him about that. So, Dave from Talking Wolves, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me. Yeah, looking forward to it.
No problem, man. So speaking of the Europa League, how disappointed are you not to qualify for the Europa League, or are you one of those fans who wanted to no European competition?
No, I would have loved to be back in the Europa League. We obviously were in there last season. Did pretty
Yeah.
well. We got ourselves to the quarter final.
Hmm.
But yeah, really good adventure. We had some good away days. As a Wolves fan, obviously we've never been able to sort of fly to Europe and have games against these European teams. So it was really good fun. So yeah, a lot of Wolves
Yeah.
fans were disappointed that we weren't able to qualify again last season. We put ourselves in
Yeah.
a really good position, even going into lockdown and when the Premier League restarted. And up until the
Hmm.
last game of the season, we were in a great position. Of course,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we finished seventh, and Arsenal won the FA Cup, so Arsenal got Europe instead of us. But yeah, I think this season is now good for Wolves to try and build on that and hopefully get a top six or top four place again this season.
Do you think you'd have had a big enough squad to deal with the 3, 4 competitions?
It would have been interesting. I think last season our squad is so small, but
Mm.
it would have been interesting to see how different our transfer window would have been if we qualified for Europe. If the likes of Jota and Doherty would have left Wolves, or whether we would have kept them, whether we would have signed some of the players that we'd signed. So I think Nuno definitely would have wanted to make the squad bigger because he said that at the end of the Europa League campaign when we got knocked out against Sevilla. But yeah, it would have been really interesting to see the difference in the transfer windows if we did qualify for Europe.
Yeah. So for Jota and Doherty, you brought them up. Do you think Jota was worth that 40 million, or did you want more than that?
Uh, I think Jota at the time when the fee was announced, or obviously when the transfer went through, I thought the bid was good. I thought the money was okay for Wolves. I felt
Mhm.
it represented good value for both teams really because Jota for Wolves was so hot and cold. In Europe, in the Europa League, he was quite good. He scored two hat tricks last season, scored a good amount of goals. But in the league, some of the chances that he had and some of the chances that he missed, he could have gained us points on his own, really. And he missed some big chances. So, yeah, Wolves cashed in on him. I thought 45 million was a good amount, a very healthy profit on a player that we signed for just over 10 million a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for Liverpool, I mean, you've seen it as well, how well he started off at Liverpool. And now for them, 45 million looks an absolute bargain. So yeah, it's a shame to see him do so well, but at the same time, before we saw him do so well at Liverpool, 45 million for us as Wolves fans seemed all right business. The one that surprised us the most was Doherty. I felt that was so low the fee at the time.
Mm.
I felt we've got a good player in Nelson Semedo, who is his replacement, but I felt the fee for Doc was really low. But I don't think he's doing unbelievably well at Spurs. He's doing okay, so they've probably got money's worth what they expected, really. But out of the two, I think Wolves fans are more shocked and disappointed at the amount of money we got for Matt Doherty.
I think he was your longest serving player, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he was here the last time we were in the Premier League, so over 10 years ago. So he
Uh-huh.
was here for a long time as well. So yeah, it was quite a shock when we were to let him go. But yeah, I think Nelson Semedo is a really good player, played at the top level. Some Wolves fans still prefer Doc, but some
Yeah.
Wolves fans prefer Semedo. So I don't think you're ever going to please anyone anyway.
Yeah, so he's back there with the likes of Fletcher, I think, Kevin Doyle, such kind of players.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Yeah.
great all day. So I'll have your results scrolling down the bottom. I want you to ask you what you thought of the season so far. Of course, the first game you started out with a clean sheet with a win. The second game should have got something away from City. In the third game, disappointing against West Ham, and then you beat Fulham. I actually expected you guys to score more than that.
Yeah.
Leeds United, you got a clean sheet there. We did keep a clean sheet there, but we should have lost. But you guys played very well. A draw against Newcastle, a win against Palace, another draw against Southampton, and a loss, um, a loss against Leicester. So, which has been your best result so far? Which game did you think like you had the best performance so far?
Um, It's tough really because Wolves played well in different games. So in terms of best result, it's probably the Leeds game, only because I didn't think Wolves fully deserved the win in that game over the 90
Yeah.
minutes. The first 45 minutes was strange. Wolves set up really defensive, and we just allowed
Mm.
Leeds to have all the ball. We did score, to be fair. We scored right at the start of the second half, which was a really good goal by Sace, which was disallowed for offside. But then a bit of magic by Jimenez, picked the ball up on the right hand side, cut inside. I think he did take a
Yeah.
deflection, but went in. And we take that, if we could go into every game, parking the bus for 45 minutes, but guaranteeing us to get some sort of result out of the game, I think you take it as a Wolves fan. But when you are watching 45 minutes defending like that, at the time you're thinking, what are we doing? But in terms
Mm.
of actual performance, probably Crystal Palace. We just looked so comfortable in that game. It was the first time this season we've actually attacked from the off. Like you
Mm.
see pictured there, Ryan Aït-Nouri, his debut, scoring a goal. That was a great feeling. And obviously, I think it's Daniel Podence got the second goal as well. So in terms of performance, there was still a few moments in that game. Palace probably should have had a penalty. They had a goal disallowed as well. But we looked probably our most comfortable and good going forward in that game.
Yeah, so clean sheets in both. I know you guys don't like defensive, but speaking about defensive, we've been playing a lot of defensive football, and it's annoying most of the fans. But as you said, as long as you can keep it tight and get a 1-0 victory, I think many people would take that. And what about your worst results? Worst performance and worst result? And I know a result like Newcastle that was damaging because it was like in the final minute from Murphy of
Yeah.
all people from a free kick. So which one has been the most terrible result for you
Yeah,
guys?
I think the Newcastle game to start off was really disappointing because that was a game from first whistle till to the end. Really, we fully dominated. Newcastle started quite a weird. They played five at the back, but they played really attacking wing backs. I thought, right, Newcastle are going to attack quite a lot here, but they didn't. They
Yeah.
sat with like 11 men behind the ball, and the fact that we took 80 minutes or whatever to score a goal was really frustrating. We got that goal with Jimenez in the end, really good goal. But yeah, just to give away a cheap free kick at the end. I think
Yeah.
Patricio would be disappointed that he conceded the goal as well. That was definitely 2 points dropped. But I mean, you can just look at our results. The obvious one is the West Ham result where we lost 4-0. And I've got to say it's probably the worst we'd played under Nuno for over the last 2.5
Hmm.
years. It was really, or 3.5 years I should say now, really
Yeah.
poor performance. And yeah, really surprising, really disappointing. We started off okay, first 10 minutes or so, but we just lacked all sorts of energy. We were really poor, and you can see Vinagre on the right hand side of the picture there. He really struggled to get into the game, and I think that was his last game for Wolves. He was let go. Probably
Hmm.
not just on that performance, but just in general, the team was really poor. We just didn't get going, and I think, to be fair, a lot of teams are damaged after that, and a lot of teams, if you lose 4-0, their morale will drop and you'll see them sliding down the table. But fortunately for Wolves this season, we bounced back, and you can see, I think we went 3 or 4 games unbeaten, so we climbed ourselves back up the table. So to still be in the position that we are, but still to have lost a game 4-0, and I'm fairly certain we're probably one of the lowest conceded teams in the league in terms of goals. Like,
Yeah.
we've conceded very little. The fact that we've still got a 4-0 defeat in there shows quite a lot to see how well, other than that game, how well we've defended this season.
To be fair to you guys, I think the previous game for West Ham before that, they came to the Emirates and they gave us a hard game. We had to score like in the 89th minute to get
Yeah, I
the
remember that
winner.
game. Yeah,
And in the next game after that, I think they went to Leicester and won 3-0. I think
yeah,
after they lost to Newcastle in the opening day, everyone was expecting West Ham to be a walkover, so it was
yeah,
disappointing, I'm assuming. So um, West Ham is your worst result, and the Leeds one is the most appealing one, but
yeah. I'd probably
Crystal
say so.
Palace is
Yeah,
the best performance. Okay,
yeah,
and Connor Cody time. Now he missed the last game. I think that is the first game he's missed in years. He's been playing for you
yeah.
guys for England consistently without any injuries. One of the best captains for me in the league right now. Consistent ones.
Yeah.
The kind of player I'd get at Arsenal. We have no natural leaders like him, like natural organizers. What do you make of him missing that game? And do you think he's your most important player?
Yeah, Conor Coady is really important. A great player, like you say, great captain, great leader as well. There was even clips of, I think it was Declan Rice just having an interview with the TV over here in the UK, and he just said like how unbelievable Coady was in the England setup.
Mm.
Obviously, he's not really broken to the England setup he's quite new really to the England team. He was only this year that he's been called up. And apparently, like, even the first England game, he was unbelievable in the dressing room, trying to get people like pumped up and everything. But yeah, for Wolves, like you said, I think in terms of league games, because I think he missed a cup game last year, but in terms of league games, he played 100 and I don't know off the top of my head, but 160 odd consecutive games, something ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
And it was a shame because he was only sort of 4 games off the overall Wolves record for consecutive league
Mm.
games. I think there was a goalkeeper from a long time ago. That was a shame really that he couldn't break that record. But obviously because of coronavirus, he hadn't actually had the virus, but he was isolating himself and he wasn't quite match fit. So Nuno for that
Mm.
game against Southampton swapped to a back four, four-man defence for the first time ever since managing Wolves. We've never seen
Mm.
Nuno do that before. So there were times, like I said, like if you've played a back five for sort of three and a half seasons, and you switch to a back four all of a sudden, there are going to be little areas of the game which you're not going to be fantastic in. Like Bolly and Kilman, I think, struggled at times against Southampton. But in terms of us going forward, we look really good attacking. So it'll be really interesting to see how he approaches that game against Arsenal. Will he stick with the back four? But part of me thinks he'll go back to the back five, sit Coady in the middle, bring him back into the team and see how it goes. But yeah, Coady,
Which
great
one do you
player.
prefer as a fan? A back five, a back four?
I'm probably more comfortable with a back five, only because I know Wolves know how to play that. But at the same time, it's not that great going forward. Wolves
Mm.
fans for probably the last year or so have been screaming out to see us play with a back four. We really want to see us play with a back four. Just take our foot, put our foot on the accelerator and see what we can do going forward and attacking. So it'll be interesting. I think
Mm.
now Nuno's done it once. We may well see it a few more times throughout the season anyway. But I think for the games against the bigger sides, like your Arsenals, maybe Chelsea, Man United, we will go with 5 at the back. So yeah, I think we'll revert back to our normal system against Arsenal.
Again, very similar to Arsenal. Back five crying for back four just the same
Yeah.
as last this season. Just last couple of player and manager. Traore, how comes he hasn't been playing this season? I mean, he's one of your everything happens through him. Let's say like a lot happens through him when he has the ball. So how
Mm.
comes he has not started like before the Southampton game? He had not started like 5 consecutive games or something.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise really. Adama was probably one of the best Wolves players last season. I think fans worldwide really saw how good he was, and the pace and the power. And he scored some great goals last season. Got some great assists for Jimenez as well. Those two created a really good partnership. But yeah, he didn't quite break into the team early on. He played the first couple of games of the season as a right wing back because we were still waiting to sign one. Obviously, we waited to sign Nelson Semedo, and he's just not really broken into the team since. I think there's a couple of
Yeah.
reasons for that. There is at the moment we're trying to get him on a new contract. And apparently the terms haven't quite been agreed yet. So there are some areas of the press saying that we're not playing him because he's not signed a new contract. But
Yeah.
there's some areas of the press also saying that's not true. But at the same time, he is a little bit frustrating sometimes, Adama Traore, to watch as a player because for every time he's great on the ball, like I said, he's so quick and skillful. But when he's off the ball, he doesn't really do much off the ball, if I'm honest. Whereas Pedro
Mhm.
Neto and Daniel Podence, they're quick players, not as quick as Adama, but they do a lot of the work off the ball as well. They do the movement, they do the defending, they do everything really. So I think that's probably one of the things Nuno has seen. But it wouldn't surprise me again to see Adama play against Arsenal. I think just to add that extra power, that pace. Arsenal did it really well against Adama. I think when we played behind closed doors after the restart at Molineux.
Yeah.
I think Turney and they had 2 or 3 players marking him basically, Adama, and he was ineffective. He couldn't do anything. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we can see Adama back to his full form, scoring goals, beating players, getting crosses in. But yeah, it's been a slow start for him this season.
If he was to be sold today, how much would you ask for him?
Oh, good question. This will probably yeah, this question divides a lot of Wolves fans. We signed him for £18 million, which even at the time seemed a lot of money because Wolves hadn't really spent that huge amount of money at that time. So that's when we got promoted to the Premier League. If we were to sell him now, if somebody came in with £60 million, maybe I would say yeah, okay, 60 million. But I know a lot of Wolves fans, if they were watching this, some would say no, we'll sell him for 30, and some would say they'd want 100
Mm.
million. So I'll sit in the middle and say about 60.
Yeah, I remember he has improved a lot. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember watching him at Aston Villa and he was nothing like this. So
yeah, yeah.
definitely improved. Then the last one before we get into the game, Nuno. Do you like him? Are you happy with him? Do you think you can improve on him? Or do you think he's done what he can do? He can't do any much more.
Nuno's a fantastic manager, really, really, really good. And I think when he came into Wolves, I'll be honest, I didn't really know much about him because he'd been managing in Porto, Valencia, and obviously in Portugal as well. So when he came in, I wasn't too sure what to expect, but he's been fantastic. And every time that I doubt Nuno, in terms of we can I'll if we have a bad run for argument's sake, it makes me forget all the good times. But whenever I doubt him, he surprises me and he takes us on. He either does something that really impresses me or he puts Wolves on a great run as well. So yeah, he's a really, really good manager, and I think he's rejected offers from bigger clubs before. Even when we were in the Championship, Everton wanted him and he said no. I think Arsenal, when Wenger went, they inquired about Nuno. It wasn't really well
Yeah.
publicised, to be fair, but
Mhm.
I remember a journalist telling me about that one as well. And he's always been linked with like the United jobs and stuff like that. So he's a well in demand manager. He knows how to set up a team defensively. And yeah, I think he's the manager. He's the right manager for Wolves. The fact that he's got us promoted first season and got us 2 top 7 finishes in the Premier League, unless we go in world class manager levels, I don't think any other manager that would join Wolves would be able to do that. So I'm really happy with
That
how he's been
that
getting on.
first season, I remember
Yeah,
you beating Chelsea at home, beating Tottenham at Wembley. You
yeah.
came to the Emirates, took a point. We came to your place, you smashed us up. I remember you beat United, I think, in both the FA Cup and the league in
Yeah,
a
I remember
couple of
both of those
weeks. So
games. The FA Cup game as well was ridiculous. Like that was probably in terms of atmosphere, that is like one of my favourite games of all time because, like that game, it was quarter final of the FA Cup, like you say, at home
yeah,
Saturday evening. Night games are class with the lights down on the pitch, and I think every Wolves fan sort of knew at the back of the head we
yeah,
could win this, but at the same
yeah,
time we thought it's Manchester United. So the fact that we were
yeah,
able to, for the first time in my lifetime, get into a semi-final of the FA Cup. Well, not in my lifetime because we have done it before, but first time that I can remember that I know I'd enjoy. And that Jota
yeah.
goal, I know we spoke about it, but unbelievable that goal was. But yeah, that season was great. Like you say, Chelsea. Yeah, we took points off a lot of the big boys. So yeah, really,
Yeah,
really good season.
every single big boy. I think since you came back, you've beaten every single big boy. Liverpool too. I think in the FA Cup you eliminated them.
Yeah, we
So
did. Yeah, beat them
yeah,
in that year in the FA Cup. Yeah.
yeah. So it's Arsenal next. Quite similar between the two teams. It's like nothing to pick from the two teams. Uh, in 4 games played, 2 draws at the Emirates Stadium, 1 win for Arsenal at the Molineux, and 1 win for you guys, and also 5 goals scored each. So very, very similar. Any of those games that you remember very good, very well, like in
Yeah,
detail?
yeah. Well, I went to the two at the Emirates. I went to
Mm,
obviously the first one. I think Cavallero scored because that was a game I don't think Cavallero had played in a while, so we were surprised that he started that game and he scored. And I think
yeah.
Mkhitaryan scored quite late on. And
Mm,
then they get the win at Molineux. That, to be fair, it's weird that game because for all the big games, I think the Arsenal game is the one that's almost forgotten the most because it
mm.
was a bit of a. I think it was like an evening game. I think it was like a Tuesday evening or something like that, and it's
Yeah,
quite
it was a
quite a
night
straight.
game.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, but it was still quite light. So it was just a bit. I don't think it's a memorable game, but we were unbelievable that match. I think we were like 3-0 up really, really quickly early on as well.
Yeah.
Neves scored a great free kick. I think Jota scored a goal or two as well. So that was a good game. And obviously the other game at Emirates, I can't quite remember who scored the goal for you. I think it might have been Lacazette or Aubameyang or
I
someone like
it
that.
it could have been Lacazette.
Yeah, and then Jimenez scored a great header to equalise, and that was a game as well. Jota as well. I think he had a little injury before that game, and he came back
Yeah.
into the team, and he had so many chances. It's just like he was just holding on to the ball for
Yeah, I
too long.
remember
But
that. Yeah.
yeah, but we had a really good game then, and then obviously after the restart, Arsenal were just so much better than Wolves. I think we weren't great in that game. But like you say, it's so close between the two teams. I think going into the game this weekend, there's no real favourite. I think both teams can
Mm,
make a claim to knowing they can win the game. And over the last 2 years, it's been so close between the two teams. Both teams set up
mhm.
quite similarly in terms of formation and system and style because they both like to counter attack. I think so. I think
Yeah.
it'll be very intriguing and interesting to see how both managers set up and sort of who goes for it first at the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Lacazette. It's obviously Aubameyang.
There was it,
It's never
Aubameyang,
anyone else.
yeah.
It's obviously Aubameyang. It's never anyone else. So the game I remember well is the one you beat us 3-1 at your
Yeah.
place, and it was a Tuesday night game, and I think that weekend you had been smashed 3-0 by Leicester, and we went ahead to lose like 3 of the next 4 games after you guys. So we lost
Yeah.
like 6 of the last 9 to just damage our Champions League hopes. So yeah, that one really stood out, and that Neves free kick that day, it
That was
was
a great goal, yeah.
painful. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that is the recent history between the two teams. But are we going to see a similar pattern again in terms of draws? Again, we've done a lot of draws.
Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me to see a draw because, like you say, Arsenal are playing quite defensive. Wolves are playing quite
Yeah,
defensive. So it really does
yeah,
depend on how both teams go for the game and how both teams set up. Um, I think Arsenal probably have a little bit more firepower than Wolves.
yeah.
But it'll be really interesting to see who sort of attacks first and who goes for it first. And obviously, a lot of Arsenal fans, like you said, wanting Arteta to change the system. It'll be interesting to see if he changes the system to try and beat Wolves on Sunday.
Yeah, let's hope so. So, give me a starting lineup. Which starting lineup do you want to see? Which boys do you want to see out there?
I think it'd be interesting to see if Wolves started the back four, but I can't see it happening if I'm honest. So I think we'll start with a back five. I think it'll be Rui Patricio in goal. The back three as Willy Bolly, Conor Coady, and Max Kilman.
Hmm.
Left wing back as Ait Nouri, I'd say Ryan Ait Nouri again. Right wing back as Nelson Semedo. Central midfielders, it'll be Den Donker, but it could be Neves or Moutinho. I would
Hmm.
probably say Neves, but Moutinho had a good game on Monday against Southampton. And then the front three could be anything really. I think Jimenez will start up front. And then it's between Neto, Podence, and Adama. Neto came on
Hmm.
and did well on Monday. I think he deserves a start. And then it'll be a toss up between Adama Traore and Daniel Podence. So that'll be an interesting one to see who starts there.
Funny thing, you guys, I've never heard you guys complain about your goalkeeper. Is he like everything you want? Like, I've never heard you guys complain about Patrice.
Yeah, I mean, we had John Ruddy the first year under Nuno, and he was okay in the championship. I think he
Hmm.
got goalkeeper of the year, but he still made some really bad errors.
Yeah,
And then when there was a little bit of trouble at Sporting, and Rui Patricio was apparently available. Wolves wanted to get him, and even as a Wolves fan, I just thought at the time because he'd been the Portugal #1 for as long as I can remember, Patricio. So I just thought, brand new team in the Premier League, no chance. And then he joined. It was like wow, and he's been the first year he was a little bit inconsistent, Patricio, but the last two
yeah.
years, other than that mistake like I mentioned earlier against Newcastle, the last 2 years he's been fantastic. So a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah, and between those players, Killman and Podence, which one has impressed you most this season? The emerging ones.
Um, Kilman's been really good. Kilman's been coming to the team. I don't think anybody expected him to break into the team. He was a player that played a few games in Europe last year.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's been really impressive. Max Kilman this year, really good player. Daniel Podence as well has shown he broke into the team quite late last year. We signed him in January, but didn't get his first start till after the restart.
yeah.
He's been good as well. So, but Kilman's probably been the one. If we have to pinpoint a player that surprised the Wolves fans the most, I think it's Max Kilman.
Yeah, we'll get to your prediction at the end, but I just wanted to ask you about your fixtures. After Arsenal, it's not that easy. You have Liverpool away, you have Villa at home, you have Chelsea at home, you have Burnley away, I think United after that, I think also Spurs after that. All of these teams, as you've already mentioned, you've beaten all these teams before. So how many points are you hoping for? How many points are you expecting? And how many points are you praying for?
Oh, Uh, hoping for 15 if we can get all 5 wins, but
Yeah,
football's not that easy. But
yeah.
yeah, they're tough games. Like I think, like we looked at the fixture list at the start of the season, and this was the period now between sort of now and Christmas. Like you said, we've got
Mm-hmm.
Spurs, we've got Manchester United after that as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
if Wolves can get 7 points or more from that, I think that's really good. You'd think on paper Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool are the really tough games, but Villa have started off really well. Burnley set up
Mm-hmm.
so well away from home as well. At home, Burnley set up well. So all
Yeah.
5 games are going to be difficult to win. yeah, if we could pick up any more than 6 points, I'd be happy with that, really.
Would you be surprised if you picked points at the Emirates and at Anfield and beat Chelsea and lost to Villa at home?
It wouldn't surprise me. That'd be typical Wolves. That'd be typical
Uh-huh.
Wolves. But yeah, we'd
Uh-huh.
probably you'd think on paper we'd beat Villa and Burnley, but it would be typical Wolves to get a draw against Liverpool and beat Chelsea and Arsenal and lose the other two. So
Yeah, those are tough fixtures, but it's
yeah,
not even
yeah,
easy for us anyway. We also have you guys who have Everton away. We have Tottenham away coming up,
yeah.
so
Some tough
it's not
games.
that
Yeah,
easy. Busy period. So, question from Arsenal fans: which player would you take from Arsenal? I know I'd asked you about Aubameyang
yeah.
before, but which one would you pick from
I
Arsenal
think
in general?
I think Aubameyang would be the obvious one. So outside of him, I think I mentioned before probably someone like Saka, a young English player, quite versatile, can play as a wing back, which would suit the Wolves system as well. So I think someone like Saka. I know we were linked quite heavily with Maitland-Niles during the summer as well. He was a player that I was really excited to see if Wolves could get. So someone like
Yeah.
him. But I think now, if we could take anyone other than Aubameyang, I'd probably say Saka.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think I'd agree with that. He'd do very well for you guys on the left wing. And
Yeah.
you've sold a couple of players recently, Costa, Cavallero, some wingers that I actually feared playing against. So prediction time, Dave, prediction time. What are you
Uh,
expecting?
well, it's
How do
like I've
how
said,
do you want Nuno to approach the game, and what is your prediction?
it's going to be such a tight game. Like we've said, we've
Mhm.
seen the results over the last 2 years between Arsenal and Wolves, and how we've both started the season. I would love Wolves to attack quite early on, get in the face of Arsenal, make Arsenal start on the back foot. But I'm not confident that's going to happen. But I always like to back my own team. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Wolves win. But like I say, I would not be surprised. It could go either way. It's so close between the two teams.
Last time out, I asked some Leeds fans, and they said that Luis is the weakness at Arsenal. What do you think is the weakness at Arsenal that you can exploit?
Yeah, I think I mentioned probably the two central defenders or the three central defenders, however you play. I think
Yeah,
your forward line is good. Your wing backs are good players that can get up and down the wings. But if there's one obvious weakness, I'd say it's probably your defenders. I think you signed Gabriel, who I thought was a good signing. Louise, I
yeah,
think, is a bit 50-50 with Arsenal fans, I'd imagine. Some
yeah,
fans don't mind him, but some fans, yeah, really don't. But then other
yeah.
than that, outside of that, I don't think there's top quality defenders. If I'm honest, if I have to be honest, so yeah, I'd probably say that's the one area that Wolves can exploit, and probably the one area Arsenal fans would probably want to improve on as well.
And that is one position I don't want Holding to start in, as Jimenez is very good in the air. So if
Yeah,
Holding starts, we're in trouble. Bamford dominated him, so you can imagine what
yeah.
Jimenez can do to him. So, any weaknesses at Wolves, like left back, right back, central? Which one do you normally get attacked more?
If I'm honest, to be fair, both our wing backs aren't fantastic defensively. Aït-Nouri is
Yeah,
still very young, and he found it a little bit difficult against Leicester when they attacked that side a lot. Nelson Semedo's a great player, but at
yeah,
times his defensive positioning and awareness is a little bit off. So if Arsenal wanted to attack down the wings, they could have a little bit of joy. But we
yeah.
we are pretty solid through the middle. If we're playing the back three, like the back five, I think we're pretty solid. You can see that other than the City and West Ham game, you can see by our defensive record we've been okay. So yeah, if there was one area, if I had to be really picky and say it's weak, I'd say the wing backs. Yeah,
Yeah, so just the last stat before you end it, and I give my prediction. Last time out when we played you after lockdown, when we beat you 2-0, you only had one shot on target, and it came after 17 seconds through TRAORE. And
yeah.
that kind of brings me to the next question. How comes both Arsenal and Wolves don't get to quick starts, like they don't get off to quick starts? So are you okay with that? Is there a reason for you guys not scoring in the first half and scoring in the second half? I know there's a couple of games you scored in the first half, like Palace, but which
Mm.
one do you prefer? Do you want to get started very quickly, or do you want like to hold it and then score in the second half?
I don't know. I'd rather score early because puts a lot less pressure on the team. I think the two times that we scored early are against Palace and against Sheffield United, and we kept a clean
Yeah,
sheet in both games. We got 2 goals. Because I think if you, especially against the smaller teams, if you can score early, they almost have to attack straight away. and that way you
Yeah.
can find bigger gaps in between their defence. And like I said, to Sheffield United and Palace, we scored fairly early, and they had to come out, and we scored a second goal. And that way, then Wolves got a 2-goal lead, and we could just sit on it. So I think as a fan, I'd much prefer early goals, because it would less pressure and less stress for us as fans as well, because we know we've actually scored a goal and we don't have to wait till towards the end of the game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go for 2-1 Arsenal win. He's going for 2-1 Wolves win. Who do
Yeah.
you think will score for you guys, by the way?
Jimenez hasn't scored in a couple of games, so I think he's due a goal. And maybe Pedro Neto again. We'll go Jimenez and Pedro Neto.
How about for Arsenal?
Aubameyang, always Aubameyang.
Yeah, I think Jimenez will get a goal. Just that goal he scored against Newcastle, pure class, and also against Sheffield, the way he hit that ball, very good. So thank you for coming on again, man.
My pleasure, man.
Where can they follow you on Twitter and YouTube?
Yeah, it's at Talking Wolves on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, everything, Instagram. So yeah, we'll have some content up over the next couple of days ahead of the Arsenal game as well.
Awesome, man. I'll have his link in the description. Check out their content. Arsenal versus Wolves Sunday night. Yes, we got a victory in the Europa League. There'll probably be a lot of changes in that game, so we have to wait and see. But I'm hoping for a win. I'm hoping for a good performance. Thank you for watching. Keep staying safe, and I'll catch up with you guys later.